Okay, here we go. I mean, I can have this thing over here and just be like,
what's up, guys? This is the Toasty Podcast. Today I've got a very freaking special for you guys. We have a guest on. And I didn't get the video on Zoom. It was on Zoom. The conversation was on Zoom. I'm sorry, guys. But whenever you use Zoom and you select a certain setting, it always puts the video on the other person. So I had that like that because I wanted to see his reactions to our questions and all of those things while we asked them. In this case, though, what I'm going to do is a little something different. I'm going to tell you guys the questions as we go through with this video, and I'll display his responses on video as well, and we'll do it that way. Now, if you guys want to listen to the podcast, the full conversation unedited is on our podcast platforms. That's Spotify, Apple, and all of the above. Just search the Toasty Podcast. But let's get into it. It's Don Huffines. He's a candidate for Texas governor, and he will be running in 2022. This is a big deal for us because it's the biggest guest we've had on the podcast. I wanted to do it right. I also wanted to do it professionally. We didn't push him too hard on things. We didn't talk about issues like crazy, and it was not a debate. That's not the point of this podcast, right? You guys know that. Matt's question was, going back to 2014, did he run unopposed? And here is the answer.
No, I was an epic battle. I knocked out a 24-year incumbent and career politician. He was very liberal Republican. I knocked him out in the primary in about 140 days and for the campaign. And it was never had been done before, and it really has never been done since because there was no runoff. It's just he and I.
Yeah, that's amazing. I was looking at that primary ballot, and I mean, it looks like it was a nail biter of an election for sure.
Yeah. It was. It was very close. But I see you were talking about the general. I had no Democrat opponent in the general.
He was a representative for Dallas County. That's what Matt's saying. Probably would have won in Fort Worth.
Yeah, it was. Well, hey, the Democrats in 18, Dallas had pretty well flipped all D's in 06 when we lost all of our judges and a lot of our stuff, but our elected positions. But in 18, they pretty well swept everything. There's 3 elected Republicans now in Dallas County out of probably 80 partisan positions or so.
Before we get going and keep going through this awesome interview, I'm really glad I got to get this interview with you guys, or for you guys, for the listeners of the Toasty Podcast. Now, here's the thing. I am working very diligently to grow the community in Fort Worth. That is my local community. And with that said, I've been partnering with Silver Star Spirits in order to do live podcasts at their location. We're working on it right now, trying to set the dates and everything else. And when I have the dates, I will tell you guys, of course. But in the meantime, if you haven't, you need to try Silver Star Whiskey. It is the best whiskey you're going to find in Fort Worth. And they are bred right here, right off the Trinity River. So try it. You'll like it, I promise. And be sure you give them a shout when you do get some. Mention the Toasty Podcast. Maybe they'll give you a discount. Who knows? Now I get into property taxes.
Sure. No, it's a very good question. And because when you first hear this, you think, oh, yeah, that everybody wants to get rid of, but that's just not practical. That's just not going to happen. People, I get that a lot. Well, that's just not real believable, really. Everybody says, right, that's just not believable. And so we're so preconditioned to thinking this is just something that can never, a precondition to living in life, that you're never going to own your own property. But that's just not the case. In Texas, to set the table for you, you never own your own real estate, of course, and you don't anywhere in the United States. You just rent it from the government. And in Texas, the rent's really high. And so you can say, well, you pay off your mortgage, but you really don't, because a third of your mortgage is property taxes. And you don't have any control of it, of course. It goes up and up every year, and you don't have a lease. This is not just about the money you're going to save, which Texans are going to save, which is tremendous, just tremendous. This is about our economic liberty. This is actually about being free.
All right, guys, I need to give you guys some commentary on this before we begin. I want to tell you guys about the property tax issues here. Consumption tax could be sales tax. It's possible. That's what he might do, is swap it for sales tax. Now, in order to compensate for as much as property taxes do for Texas as far as counties go, he would have to make the consumption tax roughly 20%. So that's why I think it's a very, very big risk and inherently may not be possible. Now, all taxes are bad, but there's a lesser evil here that we can choose, and it might be a necessity at the end of the day.
And not being really kind of like a slave to the government, where the government owns your own ranch, your farm, your land, your business, and your own home. So this is a deeper meaning than just saving the money. And it's very doable. And I tell you what we're going to do. First, I'm never going to have an income tax. We already have a constitutional amendment against that. And it's going to take about 8 years. So it'll take a while. It might take 10 years. We're going to put it on a glide path to zero. So we'll gradually get rid of property tax. The sales tax will gradually go up. But the main way we're going to keep all the local governments fully funded, so they'll still get all the money they're currently getting, is we're going to take it from the state of Texas. And the state of Texas revenue buckets grow substantially every year, and average about 8% annually. 7 to 8%. We take 90% of that revenue growth and we send it down to the local governments. And so we're just replacing the property tax revenue with state revenue.
So my next question was, if we're changing it from county to state, won't that equal more regulation? This is where he agrees with my sentiments a little bit.
And there's a lot of, let me point out that you're going to get to vote on this because it will be a constitutional amendment. So at the end of the day, I'm committed to making sure all Texans have a chance to weigh in on it and vote the final bill and everything that we get out of the legislature, because it's too important of an issue for you not to have a voice in it, for Texans not to have a voice. But that's exactly what's going to happen. There's a lot of paths to get there. There's a lot of ideas like a value-added tax. There's other taxes called a fair tax, different ways that the state doesn't rely, or local governments don't rely on property tax, because it's a bad way to fund governments. So, I mean, we can design, there's different things I've seen out there. We can design it where some money comes into local governments from like the more sales tax goes to local governments and it's split up. But the bottom line is they're going to be fully funded. And I agree. One potential risk is that the money does come from Austin, and there might be more strings attached to it than there currently is. That's a risk, because going forward, that would be, in my administration, it wouldn't be an issue. But going forward,
right,
it could be an issue.
Look, he said it himself. His administration won't have a problem, apparently. So that's cool. You know, it sounds to me like he has the balls to stand up to the political elite in Austin. That's cool. That's good. But, you know, we're talking about years down the line, and he even said it himself. It'll be after he's done. Next question was, what makes him different than Allen West? Because, you know, Allen West and Don Huffines are running against each other, against Abbott.
Sure. Of course, we get asked that a lot. I think my record really speaks for itself. And my legislative record, my experience in Texas and with the state legislature, and is just different. I'm on a different path. I'm a business guy. He's on a path of a military guy and stuff like that. And I'm a business guy. I'm the only elected office holder in the history of the state of Texas, according to Secretary of Senate, that never took any money from the government. No pay, pension, health care, per diem, no travel vouchers, no reimbursements. I didn't ask for a reimbursement for anything. I didn't even use their office furniture, right? And I paid for all the football tickets so that they give away. And I don't need a job. The job's just not getting done. I've got just a real different way to look at it than Abbott or others, because Abbott's a career politician, 30 years in elected office. He's never signed a paycheck in his life. And I just want to solve the issues that affect Texas. I'm not in it to get a new career. I don't want a new career. I got a great career. I got a great family. But I'm doing this to save Texas. And I think that we've got the solutions, and I certainly have the courage to implement those solutions. I'm not worried about the political ramifications. And so it's just a different lane. We're raising a lot of money. It takes a lot of money if we're going to win. Here's the thing, gentlemen, it really does. Texas is huge. And I'll tell you this, I'm not doing this to make a political statement. I'm not doing this to send a message. There's a path to victory, and we're on it, and we're going to win. I'm opening 15 field offices. I'm working my tail off. I got 15 offices opening around the country, around the state. We've got great endorsements. I think we'll end up with all the conservative, or most of the conservative organizations in the state endorsing this campaign. As you know, probably Rand Paul's already endorsed it. Ron Paul's endorsed the campaign.
At this point, I did not know that Ron Paul and Rand Paul had endorsed his campaign. I had no idea. It's very early, it seems like, to do that, but they already did it. And the thing is that I really like Rand Paul. And Ron Paul, for that matter. But, right now we're seeing Rand Paul all over the place. He's attacking Fauci. He knows what's going on. He agrees with most of us. He kind of sides a little bit libertarian, even though he's a conservative. Like, you kind of see that and you're like, oh, heck yeah. Those types of things. And I feel like he probably still has good core values. I don't know the guy personally, though. So far, it seems like Don is the same. He has very good core values so far as I can see. And there's just a couple things that I wanted to ask him on, and property taxes was one of them, and I'm not going to push him too hard on that. Obviously, as you can see, we moved past it pretty quick, but I just had concerns. Every other issue he discusses is pretty much necessary, and I agree with. So we'll continue.
And a lot of other folks, including the chairman of the state party. I know Alan was the chairman of the state party, but the current chairman, Matt Rinaldi, endorsed the campaign before he was chair, and others. So we got the resources to compete. We're raising tens of millions of dollars, and we're going to win this thing.
Yep. The interview was supposed to be 15 minutes, but we kept going. He didn't mind it, and he was cool with it.
Go ahead. No problem. I got time.
The next question was from Matt, and he asked about his campaign website and where you can find him.
DonHuffines.com, HUFFINES, DonHuffines.com. And they need to go in there and endorse and sign up with your email so you can stay informed. And also we have text messaging. You can go to 79005. So text Don at 79005 and we'll send you out more information. I just sent a text out. We're linking everybody to the whistleblower that came to the campaign. If you're familiar with that. So I'm releasing that information that they right now as of yesterday, I guess.
So the next thing he did was a big deal. It actually had to do with news, which is kind of weird, but he released some info to us that maybe was already released. I'm not sure. I haven't even done the research on it myself, but he talked about a whistleblower that is actually talking about an HR department. And in order to get hired, they have to get tested on CRT. It's really weird. Here's what he had to say about that.
Yeah, I can. Whistleblower came to us when she works that person works at a Department of Family and Protective Services, and it's a 13,000 person agency in the state of Texas. And it's one of the largest agencies in Texas. And to work there, to onboard and to get hired, you have to read and take a test on a 28-page document. It's all about critical race theory. And it's all about Marxist philosophy. And then you have to watch these videos. And they actually give you a test on this. So what they're doing is real, and they've been doing it for years now. It looks like promoting CRT, critical race theory, to all the people that work in this agency.
The next thing I say is pretty obvious, but people don't realize how deep CRT has gone in our schools. Even in Texas, we're having issues with it, and that's happening to your children right now. So if you want to stand up, you need to do so now. Actually, yesterday. But that means get involved with your local school, get on the parent board meeting or whatever the heck it's called. I don't even know. I don't have kids, or else I'd be fighting with you, right? Here's what he had to say after that.
It is, and it's pure Marxism, and it's really separating us from each other. But the point really of it is how deep the swamp is in Austin. I was there. I saw it. I was cussed at and screamed at on the floor of the Texas Senate more than I've ever been in my adult life. And this is by Republicans. It's not by the Democrats. It's by the Republicans. The swamp is infested in Austin. It's just as big as in D.C. And it's all about the lack of leadership from our governor. One thing I tell your viewers, and I'll tell everybody this, the governor of Texas can get really almost any bill done he wants whenever he wants. He's the governor of Texas. He's a leader of the Republican Party. So all this angst, when we're trying to stop the genital mutilation and sexual mutilation of our children in Texas, or transgender crap that's going on, or we're trying to get rid of taxpayer-funded lobbying, we're trying to get limits, we're trying to get our legislative priorities done to the Republican Party. All that's on Abbott. Abbott doesn't want any of that to be law. He's the one killing it all. Most things you see in Austin is for show. It's a hustle. And we're all part of the hustle. And so I can go on and on about it, get me going, but
this is where me and Matt, well, mainly Matt, talks about what CRT is going to do for the country, or what is it going to do to the country. It was important. If you guys want to see the whole episode, listen to the whole conversation unedited and with me uninterrupting it, not interrupting it, then go to the podcast platforms and listen, because I did not add anything to that. I didn't interject, because you can hear our side and his side at that point. The reason I did it here is because I didn't have video of us, so wanted you guys to see something. Maybe you guys can see my beautiful face. I don't know.
You're totally right. My whole campaign is about leadership, no excuses. And that's really what it boils down to. You know, Abbott's a political windsock, just blowing in the wind.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, political windsock.
Nice. And, hey, y'all know what an excuse is? It's the skin of a lie.
Yeah.
And we're all tired of the lies. Man, we're just tired of them.
You're right, man. You're right. No, I totally agree.
At this point, I just asked him if he wanted to add anything to the podcast before we headed out. You know, I was trying to be respectful of his time, so I was trying to kind of end it at this point.
But I can go on forever. Well, I don't want to do that to you. I just say this: I'm going to prove not just to the country what it means for Texas to be sovereign. I'm going to prove it to the world. I'm not asking permission from the federal government to do anything. That's my whole border plan. The whole key to my border plan is I'm never asking permission from the federal government to secure the Texas border. It's not necessary.
This is where Matt actually points out and asks him what he'll do with the National Guard in Texas if he became governor for the border crisis we're having right now. And because we're only using half of what we have, which is about 15,000. So we're using about 7,000. So he answers that next.
Yeah, they're acting as crossing guards.
Yeah.
They're helping them get across the dadgum river. That's what Abbott's doing. Well, look, I've had this on my website since I entered the race in May the 11th, and all the other candidates running now are starting to use it, which is good. I mean, flattery is a compliment, but I'm using Article 1, Section 10 of the United States Constitution, and it clearly gives the states the authority to do what we need to do to stop an invasion. It was almost written for this very occasion when the federal government's not coming to our aid. So I'm going to engage the entire Texas military, over 20,000. We're going to secure the river. We'll immediately deport anyone back across the river. And we're going to have legislation like E-Verify, comprehensive to stop the magnets that attract everybody here. Right. We've got the authority to do whatever we want to do to stop this invasion. There's 25 bridges over the river. I'm stopping all inbound commercial traffic from Mexico. This is strategic. This is to make sure Mexico feels the pain because they're being a very bad neighbor.
Right.
And they're not getting any of their stuff into Texas until they secure their side of the river and take it back from the cartels.
That's right.
The other thing I'll point out is that every road that goes to every bridge is a Texas road paid for and maintained by Texas taxpayers. We can do anything we want on those roads. And so we can stop all the trucks. I'm going to make sure Mexico secures their side of the river. Our military is going to secure our side of the river. I'm going to get done in 30 days, which no one's ever done. The federal government will never secure the river. They're never going to secure the border. They never
not in their
have.
interest.
Yeah, it's not. It's too far away for them to even worry about it.
It's not in their interest to do.
Right now, it's a premeditated attack on Texas. And I don't care. I'm going to secure the river and get her done. And we're going to use the military. I'll get it done in about 90 days.
So he's making some very big claims on our podcast, and that is awesome for us to hear. They're all good claims. They sound like good deals and good things we need to happen in Texas. But we'll see what happens. We're yet to see what can come of this. He hasn't even won the race yet, right? But he looks like a very good candidate, very promising. As far as we can tell, he's the one. Our next guest that we want to have on is Alan West. I haven't reached out to him yet, but I will be reaching out to him eventually, so that we can have him on and have him talk about what he wants to accomplish as the Texas governor. And maybe eventually we'll have Abbott on, but you know what? Like he said, Abbott is a Republican windsock, so we will see what he says about being on our podcast. To continue, Matt and I just talk a little bit about what the border some more, and he gives us some facts. Don gives us some facts about the border.
Yeah, we have 62% of the border with Mexico, and 1,230 miles approximately. So this is a huge issue for Texas. Most people don't realize that we probably have 400,000 to 500,000 kids in our school system that aren't supposed to be in it. And we're spending $5 billion a year educating. Aren't even supposed to
From property taxes that we're paying, mind you.
Right. So,
right.
if we were just educating our own kids, that would save us $8 billion. And geez, yeah, that would save us a good
Did you
chunk.
know that illegals can go to our universities as in-state resident fee for the same price as Texas residents?
Right.
So they pay in-state resident. And most of them get to go completely for free. University of Texas at Austin, Texas A&M University. It's basically free if you're an illegal. 100 books, fees, everything. And we're just totally upside down on this thing. So it's going to end under Huffines administration.
All right, so again, Don made a huge claim. It's going to end in the Huffines administration, which honestly, great. More power to you, my man. Don is the man. That means actually, the actual execution of it. Now, I don't know. So far, it seems like Don is not the guy that is all talk. It seems like he walks the walk, too. If you look at his senator voting record, like Matt was saying at the beginning of the podcast, he holds his ground and he sticks to his guns. So, good deal, Lucille. Next, Matt talks about the voting record. Sorry, not the voting record. My bad. Scratch that out. Cut it. He talks about people moving from California and other states and then changing the voting habits of Texans. Now, I'm not a big proponent of that. I think that actually it's the opposite. I think that people that are in red counties or red cities and stuff like that are moving here to get out of the blue states. But he's right about some of them, obviously. Some of them moving to Austin and stuff like that. I don't know how Joe Rogan's going to vote, even though it's still one vote. And I don't think you guys really think about that. Joe Rogan has influence for sure, so he can use that influence to cause differences in other people's opinions and stuff like that. But he himself counts as one vote, so don't forget that.
Yeah, well, the new districts, the county itself, of course, not going to change, and I think it will go red. It was pretty close, but Dallas County is a different story. Dallas County is tough. Mm-hmm. It is tough. But look, this is the cycle for Republicans in the general. But my battle, my knife fight's right in front of me. And the primary. And do you know that Abbott's never had a primary opponent really in 30 years in any office he's run for? He's never had to be accountable to the Republican Party voters.
So then I go on a little spiel about how Republican Party voters have been asleep for 30 years, and that's why, well, obviously we've voted the way we have, and it's gone downhill. I go on my little rants like I do right now, right here, this second on this video. But all that to say, I basically am giving people the energy from saying, go out and vote. That's essentially what's happening in this segment.
Absolutely. We've lost so much liberty in the last 18, 20 months. And I thought it's not even comprehensible. They destroy your business. They put 3 million Texans out of work. Abbott did. Of course, I never would have done any of that. The Constitution doesn't give me the authority to do that. I led the open rallies across the state. I'm the one that put the op-ed in the newspapers in April of 20, urging him to open it back up. I warned everybody what he was going to do. I would never let anyone take a vaccine against their will for any reason. I've never taken the vaccine. I never will take it. And so we just, I'm here for your liberty, period, your personal liberty and your economic liberty.
Right here, I just asked Don, what can we do to help the campaign?
Go to donhuffines.com and depends where you live in the state. We've got offices opening all across our, like I said earlier, and I just cut the ribbon in Midland. I cut the ribbon in 3 in Houston market. We're just everywhere. So we're in it to win. So, but just go to our website and sign up to help. Appreciate it.
All right, and that's it. I appreciated him for the time he gave us, and it was a lot.
And good luck.
Thank you, guys.
Yep, you're welcome.
Thank you.
All right.
It was an exclusive. It's probably more time than he's ever given any other journalist, reporter, podcast, or any of that stuff. And if you guys want to watch this episode, please share it, first of all. And second of all, go to any podcast platform or YouTube or Rumble and check us out when we lay down some more freaking facts on the Toasty Podcast. Stay toasty.
Toasty.